Sonja, let's talk about this Moon and Pallas Athene conjunction. So first off, let's look at the placement one more time. I'm looking at your chart now. So we've got Pallas Athene just 1 degree away from your moon. Your moon is at 28 degrees of Capricorn, and Pallas Athene is at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Now, 29 degrees is considered an anaretic degree, which basically means it's more potent than a lot of the other degrees. So 0 to 1 degree and 29 degrees are always anaretic degrees in every sign. When it comes to 29 degrees, it's like a final lesson, something that you came to fulfill, to finish, to complete. I also want to mention a couple other aspects. One of them is that you've got a sun, moon, and therefore, because your moon and Pallas are conjunct, opposition going on. So you were born in a waxing full moon phase. It was about to be full moon. Now, this is not what we would call an in-sign opposition because the moon and Pallas are in Capricorn and your sun is in Leo. So technically, for it to be an exact opposition, they would need to be in the sign of Aquarius. But it is an opposition nonetheless. So this creates another aspect to the energy that we do need to consider. We've got a couple other things going on. So the moon and Pallas are really close to your midheaven. Your midheaven is in the 9th house, not the 10th, which is a little bit more rare. But it's just another thing to take into account. I'll try and synthesize all of this. It's going to be a long video. And then we've also got an out of sign, again, trine to the planet of Pluto, which you have over at 4 degrees of Libra. My fireplace literally just shot out a coal at the back of my head and burned me and my couch. Whew, okay, that was fun. Okay, so we also need to take this moon and Mercury opposition that you have going on in the chart into account. And because the moon is actually applying to conjunction with Pallas and separating from its opposition with Mercury, we're going to call that a transference of light. So it's going to create an aspect, even though it might not have really been an aspect on its own. Last but not least, we also have a square going on between the moon and Chiron. You have Chiron in Aries at 24 degrees. So the moon and Chiron having that square, again, we're looking at the moon making conjunction to Pallas and separating from square with Chiron. So this is another transference of light, which means that it's bringing Pallas and Chiron into a square energy as well. So before I get into synthesizing all of those aspects and creating, like painting the picture for you, I want to talk a little bit about what Pallas in Capricorn by itself means. So she's a warrior goddess and a very well-known, very well-seen warrior goddess. She carries the energy of the midheaven, so it's interesting that she happens to be near the midheaven in your chart. And she's also said to have been born from the forehead of Zeus. So the planet Jupiter. Essentially, she was eaten by her father when her father consumed her mother. Her mother was pregnant with her at the time. And then she birthed herself from like his third eye. Pretty intense story, but it's kind of this overcoming, this story of like not being swallowed by this male dominant archetype and warring for her right to live, warring for her right to be strong, warring for her right to fight, and conquering. She really refused to be that docile, put down church mouse kind of woman. She was going to make her way, and she did. Okay, so Pallas Athene in Capricorn. Anyone that knows the sign of Capricorn well understands that it's all about structure. It has a very Saturnian influence and is all about practicality and foundations. In the body, it rules our bone structure. So think structure and how to weave these two themes of the warrior goddess and Saturnian structure together into one. Now, because Pallas was born from the third eye of her father, this gives her a seer kind of energy. So when we're looking at her in the signs, we're also going to look from that perspective of her being able to see through that sign's filter. So she's going to be seeing things from a very structured standpoint and probably seeing where things are not structured and wanting to fix it. People that have Pallas and Capricorn are wonderful at body work. So things like chiropractic and Rolfing, fascia work, massage therapy, things that specifically will work on the structures and what helps to hold the body together, what literally supports the knitting together of the human. They're really good at those sorts of things. They're also amazing at manifestation. So because Capricorn is such a strong sign and Saturn knows how to put together structures and create that solid foundation, someone that has Pallas and Capricorn can truly manifest things into their reality rapidly from that spiritual seer point of view, bringing it into real existent form immediately. Now, with that, I do want to note yours is retrograde, which might mean that it takes you a little longer than someone that has a Pallas that was in direct forward movement, but it's also going to have a more internal element to it. So you're probably going to ruminate on how you want to see something structured a little bit longer than someone with a direct Pallas, and therefore it might take you a touch more time, but once you decide to bring something into the world, you're going to do so with explosive force and the ability to just really make it happen quickly and right from the start. Let's also consider the fact that Saturn is intrinsically linked with time. We know that Saturn and Kronos are the same being, and Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So in this particular placement, we can also see that Pallas has an influence on time. So you might have some luck there, right place, right time kind of moments. You've also got it in the 9th house. We talked about that. So that's going to give it a little bit more of a Sagittarian flair. So you got to think Pallas having effects in things like legal matters and religious structure. Because she's a warrior, I could see Pallas even warring against religious structures that she feels are unjust. Again, that top-down oppression from a masculine figure that she sees as having consumed her. Fighting back. I think you could actually be an excellent educator with this particular placement as well. Now on to the aspects. Obviously, that Pallas-Moon conjunction is your strongest one. So typically we see Pallas having the energy of more that Capricorn energy, the midheaven, which is typically the 10th house and Capricorn vibes anyways. But the moon is known as ruling Cancer. So across the chart, right? We've got that polarization like we've been talking about in the last few videos. So with that, it's a combining of polarities and a synthesizing of polarities to becoming one. So this is where that common sense and deep empathic emotion can work together instead of oppositely. It's like the left and the right brain coming together and firing all at once and becoming a fully integrated, powerful being. But now looking at that sun opposition, you're also still going to have some stress in that regard where the moon is maybe going to be feeling some fight back from your other side, from another aspect of your personality. So do know that that can manifest as like a little bit of fear of your own power, your own strength. And just keep that in mind. Like, know that it's a weakness that you can overcome, and once you get past it, it's full integration. Okay, so there are several other aspects, and it's I'm out of time. So there's more. We'll have to talk more, but we will when we get to your reading. So anyway, there's a lot of like conflicting energies here, but I believe that you're at a place where you're already integrating them from what I've seen. So here's to you. Hope this helps.